Hey everybody, I'm Andyb and welcome to another animated review. So initially, I was planning to review this one show that's not very good, to put it lightly. But you know what? It's the summer, the weather's getting warmer, the sun's out longer, I feel like having some fun. So in this video, I'm going to revisit one of my childhood favorites, The Weekenders. The Weekenders, a Disney animated series that initially aired from February 26, 2000 to February 29, 2004. The show was created by Doug Langdale, who is also the creator of, and I was pleasantly surprised to learn this, Dave the Barbarian, another childhood favorite of mine and a show I've reviewed in the past, link in the description. The show's premise was simple. It was just the misadventures of four friends hanging out on the weekend in their sunny town of Bahia Bay, which is based on Langdale's hometown of San Diego. And when I was a kid, I totally wanted to be a weekender. Now, what exactly is a weekender? I think in traditional San Diegan, the word roughly translates to the absolute coolest. I mean, Bahia Bay was one of the best fictional towns I'd ever seen. It was near the beach, there was a huge mall, a pizza place that changes themes every week, a kick-ass arcade where the games for some reason have Super Mario World sound effects. It was a suburban kid's fantasy, at least it was mine. But many years later, now a college graduate, I still haven't fulfilled my dream of being a weekender. Yet. It could still happen. But until then, I can at least relive my childhood desires through watching the show. But almost 20 years since it first aired, is The Weekenders still worth watching today? Am I just blinded by nostalgia, or is it truly a quality show? Well, if you're up for some fun in the fictional sun, then let's take a look at The Weekenders. Let's start by introducing the main cast, the four titular Weekenders. First up, we have Tino Tonatini. Nice alliteration. Voiced by Jason Marsden, I'd consider him the main character of the four main characters. Although not the center point of every episode, he serves as the show's primary narrator, often talking to the audience and breaking the fourth wall. Some of his defining character traits are a sarcastic attitude, overreactive tendencies, compassionate nature, and love for the comic series Captain Dreadnought, occasionally imagining himself as his trusty sidekick.
Junior Dreddy, the nuclear boy.
Who, by the way, first appears in Captain Dreadnought issue 27, and don't you forget it. Or, do, it's really not that important. Next, we have Lore McQuarrie. Again, nice alliteration. Voiced by Gray
Delisle.
Lore is wholeheartedly a tomboy, which comes as no surprise, seeing as she lives in a house with 12 to 16 brothers. Yeah, she can never remember the exact number.
I can't count them. They're always moving around.
And the only parent we really see her interact with is her dad, although her mother is mentioned and shown in a couple of instances. Some of her defining character traits include her athletic abilities, occasional denseness, and her crush on Thompson Oberman, a blue-haired dude who looks like Cool Spot in human form. Apparently, she likes his sandals.
Those sandals he wears drive me crazy.
Then there's Carver Descartes. And we're 3 for 3 with these alliterated names, man, I'm loving it. Voiced by Phil Lamar, Carver is a man of style and confidence. The embodiment of the phrase, knowing you look good is half the look. Which I just made up now, but it still applies. Carver is defined by his eye for fashion, his love of shoes, and his desire for coolness. Something he holds very sacred.
Hail to thee, secret shrine of coolness. Coolness, give me strength.
Though he's shown to be shallow and self-centered at times, Carver's ultimately a good dude. But if it was between picking you up at the airport and getting a new pair of Tommy Hugo running shoes, he'd have to get a pizza first to think it over. Last but not least, there's Tish Katsifrakis. Great, you killed the alliteration streak. Way to go, Tish! But I won't hold that against her. Voiced by Kaf Susi, Tish is an academic and a thespian. She has a deep love for science and the arts, with her favorite writer being William Shakespeare. Yeah, and I bet her favorite Harry Potter character's Harry. Although she has a love for higher culture, Tish is still a kid just like the rest of them, playing games, hanging out, insert rest of theme song here. She's also notable for her old country heritage, and yes, it's just referred to as the old country. They never specifically state what or where it is.
Tish's parents, a university professor and a former roller derby star, emigrated to the US from a country which our research staff was unable to determine how to pronounce, or even locate on a map.
Which works for me, because I'm terrible with geography. No, but seriously, where the fuck is Europe?
Over there!
Now, although she's not part of the main group, I also want to talk about Tino's mom, the unofficial fifth main character if you ask me. Although we get to see the parents of every weekender, Tino's mom is definitely the most significant of the bunch. A supportive single mother known for her relaxed hippie-like attitude and very questionable cooking. and her relationship with Tino is one of my favorite things about the series. It's often very casual, which leads to a lot of witty banter, and making it very apparent where Tino gets his sarcasm from.
And you can't change the way you dress to make Tasha like you.
Ah, you're just jealous of my studded armband.
Well, there's no fooling you. Sweetie, take a cleansing breath and tell me what you're talking about.
Oh, that's great. Could you be a little more condescending?
No, I pretty much maxed out there.
Overall, our 4 main characters make for a strong cast. They play off each other well, and it leads to a lot of great exchanges. Not only do they work well as a whole unit, but they also have good dynamics in different groupings, so no matter what set of characters are on screen together, there's good chemistry to be had. Being that nearly every episode is a self-contained story, it prevents the main characters from really evolving throughout the series, but that doesn't mean they're flat or one-dimensional characters. Over the series, they show off different sides of themselves, while still being easily definable for first-time viewers. You may have also noticed that the main cast is pretty stacked in terms of voice talent. Each of these actors has done great work in other shows, and The Weekenders is no exception. They all give great performances that really highlight the distinctive traits of their respective characters.
Why? Do I just know I'll still be able to hear that laughter when I'm 50?
Dude, a dolphin's bigger than mine too.
Hose me down, baby, because I am hot.
I was reviewing my college application folder, and I don't have anything in the broadcast arts section of the drama section of the arts and culture section.
The typical Weekenders format is 2 11-minute episodes per half-hour block. However, there are a few episodes that are a full 22 minutes. Every episode begins with a title card flash, indicating what day it is. Seeing as this show is all about the weekend, it's usually a Friday. Early into the episode, we get a fourth-wall-breaking narration from one of the characters, most of the time from Tino. And then the story takes off. Some kind of problem comes up, scheming and antics ensue, it doesn't work, Tino asks his mom for advice, the problem is solved. And then the episode ends with a final narration and the show's signature catchphrase.
Later days.
While majority of Weekenders episodes can be viewed independent of others, there are a few moments where watching certain episodes out of order creates some continuity issues. For instance, Tesla Park, an honest-to-God Nikola Tesla-themed amusement park, is introduced early into Season 2, and the guys start going there from then on. There's also a case where a certain reoccurring character disappears and we never see them again for the rest of the series. Okay, first things first, I gotta talk about this intro. Livin' for the Weekend, written and performed by Wayne Brady, is such an awesome theme song. The lively guitar and keyboard riffs perfectly capture the upbeat energy of the show, and the vocal melody is ridiculously catchy.
The weekend comes, I'm down with that. Grab your ball, grab your bat.
And this is kind of a dumb personal preference, but I enjoy when songs quickly list things in succession. I think it's the fast talker in me.
Playing games, hanging out, roller coaster, there's no doubt.
In regards to the intro animation, it's a vibrant, snappy montage showcasing our main characters and what they like to do on the weekend. And in case you need a reminder of when this show came out, you need not look further than these few frames. For all those watching who were born after the PS3, let me explain. You see, that's the sound of Tino knocking on the glass of your tube TV, which a vast majority of people had at the time. But if you were watching it for the first time on a flat-screen monitor, yeah, it's not as apparent. It's really a charming relic of a past era. So yeah, this intro is great, both the song and the sequence. And I rarely hear it mentioned when people talk about great Disney show theme songs. It's really a shame, but I understand the show's popularity only goes so far. But nevertheless, it's a personal favorite of mine.
I'm living for the weekend.
Alongside the titular Weekenders, you've also got a great cast of supporting characters, and I'm gonna highlight some of my favorites. First off, there's Bluke, a jolly, friendly giant who's kinda daft but very endearing.
I brought pudding. Did anyone bring a bowl?
Then you have Frances, a friend of Bluke's who's kinda like a female Beavis. She really likes pointy things.
I like pointy things. Pointy, pointy, pointy.
Then there's Ruby and Percy, two friends who are occasional antagonists to our main foursome. In his earliest appearances, Percy is depicted as a somewhat cool guy, but with later appearances, he's depicted as more of a dork.
All my life, I've dreamed of this moment.
Really? All my life I've dreamed I'd show up for school with no pants.
And I can't get over the fact that Ruby's voice is just a gritty Tish. Like, I know it's the same actress, Calf Susie, but still, I find it funny.
A pterodactyl went haywire and picked up Chloe Montez.
Next up, Bree and Colby, the resident cool kids of Bahia Bay. They're usually seen leaning on things, being bored, and insulting the unpopular.
There's nothing wrong with your face an industrial belt sander wouldn't fix.
Holding your guts in is a waste of perfectly good skin.
Fun fact. Creator Doug Langdale thought these cool kid characters were so cheesy that he named them after cheese.
I loved the Nemesis kids, Bree and Colby. The creator was a really good friend of mine, Doug Langdale, and he wanted them to be really cheesy people. He's like, oh, you know, they're like the popular kids are super cheesy, so I decided to name them Bree and Colby.
They were cool to everyone but their own creator. What a tragedy. Then there's the ever-monotone Foods of the World exhibit lady. Yeah, she doesn't really have a name. And she introduces each of the foods with such flattering descriptions.
Tibetan yak butter tea. Once you've tried yak, you'll never go back.
Come on. Ain't you hungry?
And lest we forget the living chameleon that is the pizza place guy, voiced by Jeff Bennett. Just like his pizza place, he dons a new identity with every appearance, and he really commits himself to the role. Some of my personal favorites include the pilot.
You're coming in too low! Pull up! Pull up! Ah!
The superhero.
Pow!
The trapeze artist. And the motivational speaker.
The system is telling you you can't eat a pizza. Maybe some .com billionaire or slick Hollywood tycoon can eat a pizza, but not you. Well, I am here to tell you that is bunk. You can't eat a pizza, and so can you, and you, and you, and you, and you.
Okay, this last character isn't reoccurring, but I want to give him an honorable mention. He may only have one appearance in the show, but he definitely makes an impression. And that's Trip Nickerson. A no-nonsense overachiever and the self-appointed super kid.
This guy's a super kid? No way. Well, I say to you, yes way!
This is another dumb personal point, but there's something about the concept of a super kid that I find strangely amusing. It feels so Disney's Recess to me, like it'd be a sacred name on the playground, only given to the most legendary kids. I can almost see the episode now, the super kid. Alright, so like Randall, through some convoluted scheme, tricks everyone into thinking that he walked on water and claims to be a super kid. And everyone's amazed and starts treating him like a hero. TJ and the guys don't buy it, so they spend half the episode trying to uncover the truth. And then, as Randall's accepting like, I don't know, the key to the playground, he gets outed as a fake. TJ says, "You didn't walk on water, that was just blue construction paper." And then, as all the kids turn to Randall in anger, he cries out, "Don't listen to him! I'm a super kid, I tell ya! A super kid!" And then they take him to the dodgeball wall and pelt him with dodgeballs. Yeah, I've given this idea some thought. May or may not have a rough draft written up. Anyway, I know this is a roundabout way of saying it, but the point I'm trying to make is that the town of Bahia Bay is full of expressive characters that really complement the main cast. I've been talking a lot about characters, but now let's focus more on what they say. Because behind the colorful animation is a good script being given a good performance.
Don't fight, please, she screams.
But what are some of the things that make the writing good? Well, for one, the authenticity of the characters. Now granted, it's still a preteen Disney show, there are some liberties taken, and some of the supporting characters are definitely based on stereotypes. But generally speaking, from their concerns, their wants, their jokes, the main characters feel like genuine, believable people. You could imagine them existing in real life. That being said, the characters do have moments of being dramatic and overreactive. Particularly with some of their reactions, it's definitely played up for theatrics.
Huzzah! The grand opening approaching!
No hard feelings, T?
Hard feelings? Me? Get out of my house.
I scuffed one of your shoes a little.
And even though it's kind of over the top, I think it still adds to the authenticity. For most people, teenage years are a time where a majority of situations seem worse than they actually are. And The Weekenders takes this concept and runs with it. It does a good job capturing this part of adolescence while representing it in a very cartoony way. The script strikes a nice balance between being authentic and being theatrical. Amidst all the shenanigans and antics, every episode of The Weekenders ends with a lesson being learned. And while that may sound kinda cheesy, they're actually well incorporated. The lesson isn't constantly shoved in your face throughout an episode, and it doesn't feel blatantly educational. And I think a big reason for that is the delivery. When the lesson is delivered to the audience, it comes across more like the characters telling you what they learned. It feels more conversational rather than a lecture. And I think for a preteen audience, some of the lessons are pretty valuable, such as having a balance between your work and downtime, and not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay.
Oh, I see.
You're saying that if I want girls to like me, all I have to do is be myself.
Yeah, right. No, listen, some of them still won't like you. What I'm saying is that even you won't like you if you're not yourself.
As far as shows with lessons go, I'd say The Weekenders is a great example of doing it well. Even though I don't have any major problems with this show, The Weekenders isn't without flaw. Especially after watching through the whole series, you start to notice certain plots and morals get repeated. For example, there's a good number of episodes where Tino overreacts to something, takes it to the extreme, and his friends have to bring him back to normal. There's multiple episodes where Lore tries to change her image to impress Thompson, and they even acknowledge this in one of the episodes.
You tried the girly thing and the brainy thing, and neither one worked.
People like you for who you are.
Good one, Carve.
I got it off a greeting card.
And there are many times where the lesson of the episode is be honest with your friends. But even when an episode's plot or lesson is similar to a previous one, the setup and events that take place help give it enough distinctive differences. Though the series has points of redundancy, there aren't any episodes I'd call carbon copies. Some episodes are definitely stronger than others, but even the weaker episodes of this show can still manage to have standout good moments. And that's really another compliment I give this show. It maintains a pretty consistent level of quality, and some of its strengths are present throughout the entire series. Now there's a lot of episodes I could talk about in this section, but I'm just gonna highlight 5 of my personal favorites in no particular order. The guys are psyched because they've got tickets to see their favorite band, Chum Bucket.
Chicken eat the eggs! Chicken eat the eggs! Ah!
But in a moment of trying to look cool, Carver lies and says the band's gonna dedicate the show to them, and so the guys attempt to make it happen. One thing I find odd about this episode is that while the writers come up with a fictional band for the guys to like, they have no problem name-dropping an actual real-life band, as Tino's mom references REO's Speedwagon.
Did you guys tell everyone you're friends with the band?
Get out of my head.
I did the exact same thing when I was your age, only with REO Speedwagon.
Oh, I love those old cars.
I mean, they could have easily come up with another fake band, like FDA Speedwheeler or something like that, and nothing would be lost. But nope, instead we get REO Speedwagon. Putting that oddity aside, this episode has tons of memorable lines, a bunch of ridiculous schemes, and a great security guard character.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of a red flag to have me standing right here outside of the room.
That's not right.
But everyone's gonna know they're in here. No, you don't pay me to think.
Tino's mom has a date for the first time in years, and Tino is worried about who the guy is. Spoilers, it's him. This episode introduces the character of Dixon, who appears in multiple episodes following this one. This episode is also notable for being one of the few 22-minute episodes, and it makes good use of the extra time, having a more fleshed out story and tons of memorable lines.
I have a date tomorrow night.
What?
Here's where you say, "That's great, Mom. I'm so happy for you."
A date? With a man? Are you nuts? This isn't the time to drool over Moira.
Shh. I'm picturing our children.
Our doughboys gave the Kaiser what for?
But one of my favorite things about this episode is introducing the character of Dixon. He's cool, confident, and even has that Tonatini brand of sarcasm. And while I enjoy the father-son dynamic that he builds with Tino over the series, I really enjoy the scenes between him and Tino's mom. They mess with each other in a very charming way.
Yeah, I guess you can call me a genius, if you really want to.
Excuse me, who did most of the work?
Oh, tough lady with a reflector flag.
Just for that, you don't get to ride in the kid's seat.
Oh, no fair, come on.
This episode deals with Tino's fear of clowns, a fear that manifested on his 5th birthday. And on this particular weekend, there are clowns all over the place, and so the guys try to help Tino overcome his fear. Because there are clowns everywhere. Like this one.
Screamo.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just wanted to make that joke. This episode has a lot of great Tino freakouts, and his squeaky scream is in top form. I also like the way it talks about dealing with fear and keeping it from controlling your life. As a man with a few petty fears himself, it kinda speaks to me.
Clown!
Chum Bucket is back in town, but the guys can't get tickets for their show. However, through certain Snack Shack related means, Tino is able to score some tickets, but only 2, and so he must decide which friend he's going to take.
Could we get some napkins?
Congratulations! You are our 1,000,001st customer!
Since when does getting napkins qualify you as a customer? I mean, aren't they free? Dude, if he's charging people for napkins, this guy, I think his name is Vince, is a criminal motherfucker. The best parts of this episode are the rest of the guys trying to score Tino's extra ticket, making use of their best tactics. Other than that, the pizza place has a surreal art theme, Tino's mom makes a green cube for dinner, and there's an implied erection joke.
My offer is, you get to take me to the concert.
That's a good offer.
Hey, it might be the weekend, but who said this show didn't have class? Here we have a 22-minute Halloween special. Prepare yourselves for mild cartoon fear. Tino plans to score big this Halloween, going for what they dub the Great Harvest. But things get complicated when his friends don't want to go trick-or-treating this year, as they feel they've outgrown it.
We're like 12, which is practically 13, which is only 2 years from being halfway to 30.
It's simple math.
And Tino takes it about as well as you think. Similar to the Dixon episode, Nevermore uses the extra time to flesh out its story, and there's tons of memorable moments, such as Tino's mom and her bead crafting.
You want me to leave now so you can say bad words?
That'd be great, thanks.
Trick or treat.
Why, yes, I did make this necklace myself. Thanks for noticing, boys.
But above everyone else, Tino is the star of this episode. This is him at his most dramatic, and it's incredibly entertaining.
Have not my guises been many and varied? Have not my sacrifices been great? Have I not been pure in my devotion to Halloween?
This episode is also a good example of tackling a past plot point in a different way. The Season 1 episode Grow Up deals with the topics of maturity and outgrowing things from the past. The episode has Tino deciding to become an adult after getting laughed at for being excited over a bouncy castle. Nevermore also deals with the themes of maturity and outgrowing things, but takes a different angle that I think works just as well. Approaching these topics through the context of trick-or-treating is very fitting and relatable, and it gives the episode a unique look and feel. As one of the final episodes in the series, Nevermore helps end things with a stylish bang. Now, while there aren't any episodes I call genuinely terrible, there was one that stood out to me as being weaker than the rest, and that's the Season 3 episode Celebrity, another one of the 22-minute episodes. The plot involves the guy's favorite show, Teen Canyon, shooting an episode in Bahia Bay. Through certain events, Tish scores an impromptu and ultimately overdubbed part in the show.
Is something wrong, little girl?
My kite is ever so broken.
And because I guess nothing else happens in Bahia Bay, her fame skyrockets and everyone loves her. This episode highlights the dangers of letting fame go to your head and how fleeting fame can really be. Now, the plot of exploiting a position of power had been used in episodes prior, such as in Season 3's Follow the Leader. But approaching the topic through the context of fame does help this episode carve out a unique identity. It starts off fine enough, but what Celebrity has in decent setup, it lacks in good execution. Despite being twice the length of an average Weekenders episode, it feels rushed in places. And even though the blame can be mostly pinned to one person, multiple people end up sharing the blame at the end, and it just doesn't feel fully justified to me. However, that being said, the episode still does have some good bits, albeit them mostly in the first third.
Tish, the fragrance.
But ultimately, Celebrity is one of my least favorite Weekenders episodes. And that was The Weekenders, and I really enjoyed revisiting this show. Not just because it was a nice stroll down memory lane, but also because I was reminded of how well crafted the show actually is. The designs are bright and colorful, the characters are distinct and likable, the jokes are sharp and witty, and the antics are indeed wacky. In the grand scheme of things, The Weekenders isn't anything groundbreaking, but what it does well. Now that I'm older and looking at the show more critically, I've gained a newfound appreciation for its quality and charm. And in the realm of preteen slice-of-life shows, it's one that I have a lot of fondness for. And with that statement, we've reached the end. So as per usual, I'm Andyb, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if I make another, I'll see you then. Take it easy.
Down with the cotton gin! Down with the cotton gin!